It's now time for the Ray Longo Minute.
I want you to punch a hole in his fucking chest. That's what I want.
The Ray Longo Minute.
Starring Ray Longo. The John, Anik, and Kenny Florian podcast.
The star of the Anik and Florian podcast, Raymond Peter Longo. Good to see you. Good morning. You just roll out of bed? We banging cold brew or what?
Oh, yeah. 100%.
What time did you go to bed? What time did you rise? Right now, it's 11:50 a.m. Eastern. I think we're all still feeling the effects of losing that hour, no?
I got killed yesterday, and I went to bed about 2:33 last night. I can't. My circadian rhythm is in the shitter, as they say.
I went up to do the post-fight show. It was 1:33 a.m. that I got on set, and then you lost that hour during the post show. So I got back to my room at about 3:50 a.m. And yeah, I'm all over the goddamn joint today, Raymond. But what are you going to do? I mean, we show up for this audience, and we always tell folks this show will never be behind a paywall. It may cease to exist at some point down the line, but this show will always be free, and we're always going to do whatever we can in whatever condition to be here and bring you content and bring you Ray Longo. How was your weekend, kid?
Oh, man, it was good. Enjoyed the fights. Everything's going good. Getting ready to go to Vegas this week for Charla Lampos. We call him Pompos. Got a big fight this week, and I'm very excited.
All right, I'm looking at UFC Fight Night 2, Ivasa versus Tabora, and the first fight of the night out of the red corner, Chara Lampos Gregorio. Is that how you pronounce it? Fighting Shad and Helliger?
That's how you pronounce it. It's good enough for me. I don't know if it's good enough for him, but all
right.
We call him the Great Pompini.
All right, well, tell me a little bit about this kid.
Oh, great kid from Greece. Has come a long way, man, and got into the UFC with a really great knockout on the Contender Series, and I think he's getting better and better. Really, really happy working with him. He's had a great camp, and I expect a great night. But it's MMA, so I wouldn't expect anything. But he put in a really, really, really good camp, and he's a great kid.
Does our friend Big Ron Pellegrino, owner of the Paradise Cantina, know that you're going to be at the UFC Apex this weekend?
No, but I hope he knows now.
Yeah, he knows.
Big Ron, get ready, baby. Coming in early.
Ray Longo is coming in. Get the ladies ready. Get the alcohol ready.
Without a doubt.
Get it all ready for Raymond.
What's a Vegas trip without the ladies, John?
I'm telling you, everybody loves Raymond. All right, so how good is Sugar Sean O'Malley? I mean, is your guy Merab Dvalishvili going to beat this kid? How good is Sugar Sean O'Malley after what you saw this weekend?
It looked pretty damn good. Great movement, holds the range really well. Obviously, there was no attempts at any type of grappling. I think obviously that's the difference. Look, you're going to have to kill Merab to keep him off you. I think that's a really great matchup, Kenny, as far as, you got a total wrestler maniac against a guy who can hold the range, who is a sharpshooter. So I think that matchup is phenomenal. I don't think it's easy for either guy, but again, if you don't stop this guy with something, he's going to get his hands on you, and then we'll see what happens. But I love the fight, and he looked great. I mean, he did look great. I mean, Cheeto, you could see every time Cheeto pressed a little bit and went for it, it was like a different dynamic. But when you sit on the outside and wait for this guy, just not a good strategy.
Kempfel might be on mute. I actually bought Kenny a mug that said you're muted. So I was actually going to keep it for myself. So every time this motherfucker mutes himself, I can just hold it up like, dick fuck, you're muted.
Yeah. Dude, I actually went to get it today, and it's in the dishwasher today. But,
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that. I like that a lot. Hey, but listen, the winner to me, the whole is Dustin Poirier.
Yeah,
I cannot say anything. I can't say anything but great things about this guy. No upside to taking this fight. The guy
disagree with that, but I agree with most of what
the upside? I mean, if he wins, he beat a guy that was ranked what? If he loses, he lost to a guy that was ranked what? You know what I mean? I'm just saying in that respect. I mean, he gave that kid a chance. The kid was on a tear. He survives a pretty rough first round. That's a gangster, man. The way he speaks on the microphone, He seems like he stands for all the right things. I don't know. I got a new respect for him after this fight. I always liked him, but after this fight, he came off a head kick knockout with Gaethje. There was a lot of risks involved in this. He's getting older.
Yeah.
He was talking about maybe it's his last fight. I didn't like the way that sounded. But wow, I'm just super, super impressed. And, he kind of exposed Benoit. You know what I mean? Maybe it was what he said with the antibiotics, but like his punches looked like they were in slow motion. They were arm punches in the second round. You knew that when you started seeing that, Kenny, that he was just going to get lit up. I mean, Howard Davis's son, beautiful job. The guy's not
Daya
even.
Davis.
Beautiful job. Yeah. What's his first name?
Daya.
Yeah, what a great job. And he knew it. He could see it from the outside, not even in the same stratosphere striking,
Right.
And I think maybe because, I don't know what it was. I don't know. It didn't look, it didn't look good. And you knew that he survived that first round. Once I started seeing those punches coming, I go, that's going to be it. A disaster waiting to happen.
Guys, my mom is acting up. No, I mean, it's just this Roadcaster. You can have nice equipment in a fucking home studio, but it doesn't mean it's always going to work. But it sounds like you guys can hear me now.
Yes. I think the Roadcaster didn't get sleep. The Roadcaster is affected.
The Roadcaster is half asleep
obviously,
as well.
I mean, this is simple.
I guess I just see more upside in this matchup for Dustin Poirier than certain other ones, like a fight with Beneil Dariush. And part of the issue, right, is that a lot of these guys, Arman Tsarukyan, Mateusz Gamrot, are his American top team teammates. So some of the other young up-and-comers in this division that have single digits next to their name are his teammates. But I just think that after what Benoit Saint-Denis did to 5 straight lightweights, including your guy, Matt Frivola, there was upside to fighting Benoit Saint-Denis at 27 instead of when he's 30, 31 and closer to his fighting prime. Because Saint-Denis, maybe there was some exposure that happened this weekend, but I do think that a lot of it is just that he's inexperienced.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I still think it was a class act move for Dustin to give this kid a chance. No doubt. I don't want to take away from that, and I'm not going to take away from that.
No, of course.
He said it. He gave Eddie Alvarez a chance, and he's just a good guy. Or Eddie Alvarez gave him a chance, whatever he said. But I loved everything about that fight, and I think to me that was that was more of a highlight to me than even O'Malley's performance.
The first time I said your favorite fighter's favorite fighter, I was referencing Justin Gaethje, and I've used that on Max Holloway before. But yeah, I mean, Dustin Poirier, I feel like he's your favorite fighter's favorite fighter. And I could not find a single fighter out there, not one single pro fighter. I probably talked to 25 of them. Not one that was picking Benoit Saint-Denis, not a one.
Wow.
And yet the betting line stayed where it did. I mean, Dustin closed plus 185. They're trying to get two-way action. I feel like some of these books had to get fucking killed on that Poirier result,
Yeah.
All right. So real quickly, in terms of the matchup between Sean O'Malley and Merab Dvalishvili, and then we'll get to some other UFC 299 items with the star of the show, Ray Longo. So you heard Jason Perillo in the lead up to this fight talking about Marlon Chito Vera smothering the speed, right? Like Merab is very quick on his feet. I'm just curious, Ray, and I don't know how much you want to peel back the curtain, but, how confident are you that you can, make this a ground fight and just chain takedowns and tire the fuck out of Sean O'Malley? You guys are a 2-1 favorite right now, Pressure's on you guys. You're the fucking 2-1 favorite. How confident are you can chain takedowns and work your top game and do damage on the ground and actually keep Sean down?
Me, I'm pretty confident.
I knew he was going to give me 2 words. I knew you were going to give me just 2 words.
Look, you could talk about smothering the speed all you want. I mean, listen, I love it, but somebody has to do it. You know what I mean? He didn't look, anytime he made the attempt to smother the speed, I thought he did great. I mean, it was very far and few in between, but you could see when he pressured him, whatever. I thought he had maybe minimal success, but the other guy pitched a beautiful fight. But it's a totally different animal when Merab's in there, and he's kind of been training for him for a year or two.
Right.
He knew that was going to be the fight. So good luck. And the fact that he couldn't get Chito out of there, I think is a great. I mean, he basically I'm not saying this disrespectfully, but he wasn't getting much offense coming back. And the guy won 5 rounds with him. It was almost like the Putino fight. Yeah, he beat him up, but he couldn't get rid of the kid. You know what I mean? Or he did at the end, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But Merab's, you're not going to be able to do. You could light him up, but there's going to be a price to pay, and then you're going to have to do it again and again. And
we'll see if
it's going to be a great fight. It's not an easy fight for sure.
Yeah, we'll see if Merab's chin and durability is tested the way Marlon Chito Vera's was, because kid's probably got 3 facial fractures, if not more. But yeah, he was not finished on this night. So, well, it's exciting, man. It really is exciting. And, Ilia Topuria is not going to be next for Sean O'Malley. It's going to be your guy. I just think you guys might have to wait until Madison Square Garden. Maybe you can get him at the UFC Apex in that little 25-foot octagon. That might help you guys.
We could get him in the parking lot. Let's just get him. I mean, I'll tell you, as good as he looked in that fight, I saw nothing that indicated he's beaten Topuria. Topuria is a totally different animal. And, maybe in the future, but I love the way Ilya stuck up for Merab and won't take that fight until he fights him. This is the shit I love. I love that type of stuff. You know what I mean? Where it comes before everything.
Yep.
And that to me is classy. And, that's the way it should be. People have to stick together, because if not, they're going to have to follow other people's guidelines, and that who the hell wants to live like that?
I know I give you a hard time on the show, but I would take a bullet for you, buddy. You know how much I love you. I just gotta give you a little jab.
He'd take a bullet from one of those non-lethal guns, Kenny.
Right, a BB gun. Yes.
Yeah, a BB gun. He'd take a pellet.
Yeah, I'd take a pellet for you. I'd take a paintball for you any day, Ray.
Thank you, John.
So, all right, I think we've sort of exhausted Sean O'Malley and Merab Dvalishvili. It's going to be very interesting to see how it all plays out. One thing that we have not exhausted is the octagon size and how it might have an impact on certain matchups, particularly this main event. A lot of people, and these are fighters out there, Kenny and Ray, you can respond to this if you are so inclined, are suggestive that it's a different sport in that 25-foot octagon. And certainly with particular matchups, Kenny, it's undeniable. Like the surface area, it's 31% bigger, right? So for Sean O'Malley to be able to use his gifts and his footwork in a 35-foot octagon, never mind the crowd, as opposed to that regional thing they trot out at the UFC Apex, I think to dismiss that as a factor, I feel a little bit, ignorant for not bringing it more into the context of this matchup at all leading up to it. I don't know. Am I crazy?
Yeah, I mean, every 12 inches matters, right, guys? Is that the deal? No, listen, I think it's a big factor. It really is. And if I'm fighting Merab Dvalishvili, I'm going, can we get a 60-foot octagon? Is that possible? And can I get a scooter in here as well? It's going to be tough, and it definitely can influence the way the fight goes. Having that extra space to move around and having to do it against a guy who is going to pursue you. It really does matter. There absolutely is an advantage of being in a smaller octagon if you are a grappler, and there's a larger advantage if you're a striker being in a larger octagon. But at the end of the day, it does come down to how you manage that environment, how you cut off that cage, what kind of skills you bring in, how you're setting up your takedowns, all that stuff. And I think with all of Merab's experience, he's fighting Sugar at the right time, or will fight him at the right time.
Hey, Ray.
Yes.
What'd you think of 36-year-old Michael Venom Page making his UFC debut against Kevin Holland?
It was pretty cool. I mean, it's not my type of thing, but you got to respect the guy for being 36. And he totally frustrated the hell out of that poor kid. He just, when you could get to that point where you could almost make a guy just want to quit at the end of the fight, that's pretty cool. But if we saw every fight like that night, I think it wouldn't have been a happy thing or a good thing.
Kenny, I'm not a mixed martial arts expert, but I really enjoy watching Michael Venom Page compete. It's amazing to watch a man who's 6'3" with an 80-inch reach and hands, that size just to move like that. But yeah, I mean, maybe not in some part the fight that people were expecting, but what'd you think of MVP on the big stage, and what do you think about him moving forward in a very difficult division?
Yeah, well, let's talk about the good things first, because I do think it's important to talk about. This guy, he's special. That's what I was talking about in regards to his talent, his speed, his skills, his length, his ability to kind of fight that Wonder Boy type of game. It's a problem going against a guy who has that kind of footwork. It's even more of a problem to go against a guy who has that kind of reach and knows how to use it. So Kevin Holland, he tried to take him down. He tried to clinch him, and he was successful here and there. But you also have to give credit to MVP for working on the grappling side of his skills and getting back to his feet. Now, let's talk about the bad thing. And really, it was just one bad thing, but it was happening throughout the fight. I think there's a problem when you're trying to look cool, when wanting to look cool is more important than going out there and finishing the fight. And I think that's what we saw a little bit too much from MVP. He was showboating a lot, which was funny because typically it's Kevin Holland doing that. And that tends to put Kevin Holland in a weird mental space. He didn't really know what to make of it. So maybe that was by design, and maybe it was very purposeful in what he was doing. However, I would have liked to seen him focus a little bit more on trying to get him out of there, or being a little bit even more precise with his striking and trying to stop Kevin Holland from even continuing to move forward, than him kind of showboating in between some of those sequences. Especially there was a time where I thought he had Kevin Holland out on his feet. Now that may have happened a few times during that fight, but there was one instance in particular where I thought he should have been a little bit more focused on trying to get Kevin Holland out of there. So, but either way, dude, he does things that I can't even dream of doing as a fighter.
Yeah.
He's so talented, so good. And he's going to be a problem for a lot of guys. And, you know, I saw Wonder Boy at that appearance at the Jose Cuervo thing. And man, I would love to see that fight one day. You know, those guys are just so unique, so special as karate fighters. And that would be a very interesting fight in the future.
Yeah, I agree with Kenny on basically everything. But the Wonder Boy, listen, when Wonder Boy fought Holland, he pieced him up.
Yeah,
you know, there wasn't the showboating. It was complete focus. There was combinations. I mean, he technically beat the crap out of him. So I think that's the difference. But you hit on a good point. Where he had him in trouble, he chose to, you know, do the robot or whatever he was doing. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if you had every fight like that night, I don't think it would have been as entertaining. It was good in the middle of everything just to see that type of talent. Because I'm with you. Like, I wish I could do, or, you know, could have done 1% of what that guy did. It's a gift. It really is a gift, and not many people have it. And him and Wonder Boy, and they're pretty close in age. So I think
that's going to be the fight.
Yeah, I like that matchup, you know, and, you know, it could be just two guys looking at each other, bouncing on their feet, you know, with their hands down for about 10 minutes. But, you know.
Right. But when they engage, it's going to be fun.
That's going to be fun, man. That's going to be fun. And, you know, obviously Wonder Boy's my guy with his dad, Ray Thompson. So I'd love to see that fight. I think everybody would at this point.
Hopefully Wonder Boy doesn't mind me talking about this, but I got a chance to talk to him for a little bit. Wonder Boy's the best, man. Such a good, humble dude. But he told me he actually broke his foot in, I think, not only one, but I think two places in that first round against Shavkat, which to me, if I'm looking back at that fight, it changes the narrative of how I saw that fight. Now, Shavkat certainly made his adjustments, but you see how the fight kind of went after that first round. And I didn't see that news out there. So I'm sorry if I'm repeating something that people already know, but the fact that he fought Shavkat with a broken foot, I mean, everything comes off of Wonder Boy's movement and mobility and footwork and all that stuff. So the fact that he actually continued with that broken foot against Shavkat, I think makes it, I don't know. It makes the narrative a little bit different heading into that. And those things happen during a fight. But again, just another demonstration of how damn tough Wonder Boy is.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
All right. Let us get to Jack Della Maddalena, if we could, because seems like a Ray Longo type of guy here, right? I mean, hard-nosed Jack Della Maddalena. He gets Gilbert Burns out of there with that beautiful knockout. It comes at 3:43 of round 3. Gilbert Dorino Burns did win 2 rounds on 2 of the 3 judges' scorecards, so perhaps Jack Della actually needed the finish here. Man, does he get it? And we got a new bona fide top 5 welterweight contender, Raymond. What do you think about Jack Della?
I think what a great performance. And when you hit adversity like that in the early rounds and you come back to win, and even though it was adversity, he was always in there, you thought. But he's just one of those old school Australian grinders, man. I do love. He's great boxing, great mindset. I thought he improved in a couple of things, and I thought Gilbert, I'm trying to think of how the scoring would have went, but Gilbert he looks frantic when he's on his feet. Like there's a nervousness that if they could calm him down a little bit, I think it would really, really help, because he's both great guys, but he just looks frantic. Like there's I think that's what got exposed a little bit to me.
Ray, you nailed it, dude. I think that's exactly what it was. And he definitely looked charged up in round one. There's just a lot of nervousness in how he's moving. Like there's like a panic. Even when he's doing well, you're like, this could go bad at any moment. And I think that his maybe inability to control his emotions got the better of him of that fight, because he made really a kind of a rookie mistake as a grappler. And we all know he's a world-class grappler. This is a world champion Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. And what he did, if I can explain a little bit, was he got highly connected to the guy on bottom. And if you're highly connected to the guy on bottom as opposed to being stable and rooted to the floor, then that means that guy, if he moves, can send you wherever he wants. And that was the problem. He kind of rooted down and tried to grip onto him, and Jack went to sweep him. He ended up moving him, of course, got back to his feet, and Jack, being the finisher that he is and the tremendous striker that he is, landed that knee, and that started it all for him. And it just tended to snowball very quickly, and it was almost like what Ray was saying. You kind of saw it coming. Like you knew that if it started to go bad for Gilbert, that he wasn't going to be able to emotionally come back from that. And we saw that in that fight against Kamaru Usman. Right? Like when things started to go down, it started to snowball very quickly. And it was unfortunate, because that would have been such a big win for Gilbert, and would have put him in a great spot in that very difficult division. So I think more than anything else, I think that Gilbert does have some good skills. I think he should probably improve his footwork and overall stance a little bit moving forward. But more than anything, I think it was just the experience and that emotional energy maybe that came into him. Came with him into that fight.
Yeah, I mean, there's people in the gym, I go, it's like happy feet. They're just moving for no reason. It's just, that's what I was feeling like. I'm not saying this, that I love Gilbert Burns. Obviously, I love Henry a lot, but it's almost like when I'm getting ready to feed my dog, she just starts, she gets so fucking, like, she's prancing, and that's Lucky, the energy. Yeah, Lucky, come on, you're going to eat the 2 seconds. But Gilbert just had that. Those feet were booking and they weren't really going anywhere. It was just, but that's what I felt anyway. But I think he makes that correction. I think he settles down a little bit, and, he could set up a lot of stuff way, way better.
We don't pay you to be friends with everybody, right? I mean, you got to be able to be critical in some part. I mean, we all love Gilbert Durinho Burns. I think he would acknowledge a lot of what you guys are saying, right? I was texting with Anthony Lionheart Smith last night, not trying to like peel back the curtain, but he wasn't intending to be uber critical of Michael Venom Page, right? But he's an analyst, and a strong one at that, and he's interesting, and he's asked his opinion right after the fight, right? And he gave it to the masses. All right. So, Kenny, I just want to ask you, I don't know if you want to answer me in 20 seconds or so real quick. I know you touched on some of the mistakes Gilbert Burns made, but, Jack Della Maddalena has good submissions in his own right. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt. Ben Vickers, Scrappy MMA, they do a good job. Like I am not an expert. I'm an amateur, but I was pretty impressed overall with his defensive grappling and his awareness and focus in those situations.
No question about it. Looked way better than we saw in the past. And I know he's worked with Craig Jones, one of the best grapplers in the world right now. So I think, you talk about his ability to keep his emotions together and to execute the right techniques at the right time. Dude, he showed that he is a developing fighter, man. And if he continues to work on those skills and get better as a grappler, he's going to be a problem. Already is a problem for a lot of guys, but that's one of those fights where you're going to come away with a lot more confidence. It's not like he was in there with Joe Schmo, striker guy on the ground. He was in there with Gilbert Burns, a legitimate Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt world champion. So I think that he's going to gain a lot from that. And yeah, it was impressive.
Yeah, I think he grows, again, tremendously. What I hope he doesn't do is think that because he survived with Gilbert Burns, he takes the foot off the gas pedal of that. He's got to keep going with that, keep getting better, and he'll be a force to be reckoned with. Just great mindset. I mean, I got to meet him at the Apex during a weigh, and just a great guy, great team around him, all good stuff. So I'm really happy for him.
So Jack Della Maddalena then calls out Shavkat Rakhmonov, who is 18-0. And a lot of people expressed surprise that he would call out Shavkat Rakhmonov. That includes the man who is probably going to book that fight, Sean Shelby, to my immediate right, looked at me and almost intimating, like, who calls that guy out? I would suggest to you guys, like anybody who wants to be a world champion does, right? And there's so much sportsmanship going on in this welterweight division from Shavkat Rakhmonov and Jack Della Maddalena. Certainly, it's not out of the realm of possibility that both of those get a title fight next, depending on injuries and calendars and things like that. Jack Della's 7-0 in the UFC. Rakhmonov has been on the short list for a while, but both of them acknowledge... Remember the name! Right? They both acknowledge Bilal, and that's why Jack Della Maddalena is of a mindset that if I can get a main event or a co-main event against Shavkat Rakhmonov and beat that guy, then I get a fucking shot at the world title. But right now, the way the landscape is, Jack knows he's not going to be next. So if you're really trying to put yourself in position to fight for the title, you beat the guy that's all the rage, and that's Shavkat. Ray, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, my point is, you know who does that? Real fucking people do that. Real people do that, not guys that take the number 6 guy. They call out the number 6 guy. That's not the mentality you want. You want this mentality, a guy that's not on TikTok, WikiWalk, whatever the fuck you want to call it. That's the guys that do that. That's the guys I like. Look at Marab, and I'll say, and look at Marab. For 2 or 3 weeks ago, making the fucking weight to go in there fight. That's a gangster fucking move. Like, you got to deal with that guy, a guy that would fight you without even a fucking fight camp.
Right.
Who just fought, who you know is going to have to kill himself to make the weight. That's the fucking mentality you want.
Can we talk about that, Kenny and Ray, for a second? Right. So seemingly it was a difficult weight cut for the Cejudo fight. Perhaps not. But, you know, at some point during our fighter meeting, and that was just happened to happen at a time when Merab was particularly malnourished. Yeah. And Ray sort of gave us this motion to the neck, like, let's cut this thing off, right?
Yeah.
But this time around, Ray, I mean, that dude was bouncing in the goddamn room 3 weeks later and made the weight again. So, yeah, could we sit on that for a minute, Ray? Like, what a fucking savage.
He looked even better on the scale.
He did.
Yeah.
Why did he look better on the scale, Ray, 3 weeks later?
I think, listen, I have no, my immediate response, I have no fucking idea, but I would imagine the excitement that he was maybe going to get to fight for the title was enough to make him bounce all over the place. And again, it's all about mindset, and that's the mindset you want. That's what I say, the Jack Della Maddalenas, the Merabs, and these are guys that are there to fight. You know what I mean? That's it. And that's what you have to contend with.
John, we need to go offline. We need to go offline and talk to Ray about a Ray Longo app where he just he says things like a couple lines every day that kind of motivates you for your day, like something like that. Like, just hearing Ray gets me fired up. So we need to talk about that, Ray.
100%.
Well, yeah, you just hit a button and it'd be like TikTok, WikiWalk, forget that noise
was a
today.
Fucking gangster move. I'll punch a hole through his fucking chest.
So fucking sick of this shit, Kenny. Look, and I'm gonna go. Look, it could be my age. I mean, I'm willing to say I'm even wrong, but dude, I gotta tell you, it drives me insane how guys will put, that shit before training. It just drives me fucking crazy.
Thankfully, Ray Longo loves mixed martial arts as much as anybody his age I know. So, your guy Mark Henry hates MMA so much he didn't even show up in Caitlin Sermonara's corner this past weekend. Sorry.
Hey, listen, Mark always said when Frankie was done, he was done.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I tell you, it's again, he's a real guy too.
Yeah.
No, he was listed though on the corner audio sheet, I believe, and then ended up not cornering. So maybe there's some circumstance there. I'm not trying to be a dick. All right, Ray, I'm going to get you out of here on this, if that's okay. Piotr Yan is back.
Beautiful.
I mean, this dude, man, when he finds that proverbial flow state and gets pissed off, he gets pissed off about the tape on his glove. The next thing you know, he looks like the best bantamweight in the world again. What'd you think of Petr Yan? I guess it's nice when, did I just call him Yang? What did you think of Petr Yan? Must be nice to not be fighting Merab Dvalishvili.
Yeah, well, first off, I texted you during the fight.
Oh, did you?
What are you talking about?
I'm going to look right now. Busy night. All I did was fucking read ads and promos all night.
Anytime Jan did anything, that guy was flopping to the floor. Like he could have went to scratch his leg.
Right.
Jan would have been down. So I texted John, he's selling out because Dean said he's selling out. He's selling out because he's got PTSD from the Merab fight.
Right.
Like any slight movement, he was all over the place. But as much as, there's been like a little cuckoo past with Jan in the past, I was really happy for him, to see him come back, after a couple of losses and to get a win. He's great for the division. He proved that, that was a great fight for him. You knew they were going to bang it out. And I'm actually happy for Jan, but man, you saw the residual effect that Merab fight had on him. I mean, I'm telling you, if the guy sneezed or he went to fix his glove, that guy was sprawling. Like it was that's how crazy Kenny, right or wrong?
It was literally what I was thinking about. I'm like, this guy still thinks Merab's in front of him. I literally thought about it. Like,
he was on the floor. He wasn't even just biting a little bit. He was but I'm happy for Petr Yan. Great win. Actually a great win. Great fight. Love the fight.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, safe travels to Las Vegas. We wish you all the best with Shara Lampos this weekend. So for UFC 300, can we put in a request for you to come out a little bit early? I'm going out on Tuesday, April 9th, not necessarily for recreational purposes, but maybe we all convene at the Penthouse at the Virgin or something.
You tell me I'm there.
All right.
I'm there. So I'll see you, Ray.
You're definitely going to be there.
Too long.
When was the last time you and Ken Flo made out?
I think we swapped spit at the Garden that time. No,
we did actually. It's the PFL event, I think. Yeah.
I mean, listen. First off, it's all normal today.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how's the setup? Pretty good. I mean, you sound fucking great.
Oh man, you think I'm doing better because of the setup? Is that possible?
You had a really good show today. Objectively,
really today.
Well, I think you're always great. I mean, there's a certain segment of our listenership that fast forwards to your segment. So, right? That should make you feel good, right? Timestamp the shit out of that.
Understandably so, no?
Get him out of here. Get him out of here.
We're going to cut you right out of the room. Do you ever listen to the show back, Raymond, or no?
Nah, not really.
No. I mean, you're a media mogul.
I like when they put the little clips up. That I catch.
That's why we have you on the show. Honesty.
Yeah. What other 12 shows are you going to be on this week, Ray?
No, nothing this week. I think I'm good. I think I'm good this week. I try to help people, John.
They're going with Eric Nixick this week, maybe. We got to talk about that. We got to talk about. You got 2 minutes? You got 2 minutes?
I got 2 minutes. Let's do it.
All right. I mean, Anthony Joshua.
Woo.
Anthony fucking Joshua. Ken Flo and I were watching this together, actually, in Miami, as Francis Ngannou is on the wrong end of an absolutely vicious knockout. Raymond, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm going to tell you, this isn't going to make sense. And I like Francis, obviously, and Nixick's a good dude. There was a movie Humphrey Bogart was in called The Harder They Fall. It was about Primo Carnera, where they build up this big Italian heavyweight. And the guy really thinks he could fight. I mean, the movie is fantastic if you want to go back and watch an old movie. But the first time he got in there with a legitimate guy, he just got the shit beat out of him. And I'm not saying it was that, but the crossover fights, I'm going to even agree with Dana. That's almost what should happen. And I'm going to tell you something. I give Francis credit because he fought a legitimate guy. He's not doing a Jake Paul calling out a 60-year-old Mike Tyson or fighting, you're 200 pounds, you're fighting a 140-pound Floyd Mayweather or something. It's just everything crooked. This guy literally fought a legitimate heavyweight. So hats off for Francis for that. But there are levels to that game. And I don't know how. Like there was a time, I think Chael Sonnen said something. You're not getting anybody to go in with like a Cael Sanderson that has minimal experience. You're getting killed. Like it's not even going to be close. And I think that's what it proved, is that, these different sports, take on a new life of their own. And that's why I even like a Demetrius Johnson. He lasted around with that Rotang, you know what I mean, when he fought him, and then he submitted him. But at least he gave that guy his chance to get him. And that's why I think Demetrius is one of the, GOATs of all time, for just even for things like that, putting himself out there in those positions. So hats off for Francis for taking a legitimate fight. And, unfortunately it didn't work out. But I think that's kind of the way the universe should work.
Ken-Flo, I don't know if you saw the movie The Harder They Fall, 1956.
Ooh, great movie.
I mean, is it black and white, presumably?
100%. Well,
right.
Black and white. Of course it is.
I don't know when, color TV was invented.
What year were you born? 2012?
1978.
Ooh, 78.
I'm going to get Ken-Flo's thoughts on Ngannou on the other side. We're going to let you get out of here. But if you do want to go to your local Blockbuster video, see if they have a hard copy of The Harder They Fall from 1956.
It won't disappoint you.
Just like the Ray Longo Minute every week.
Ogie at his best. Let's take it easy, guys. I'll see you.
Here. We'll talk to you next week.
I'll see you at the Virgin.
There he is.
Sir.
Ray Longo with us every week here on the Anik and Florian podcast. Anthony Joshua, former Olympic gold medalist in boxing 2012. I'm a fan of this guy. When he's on and in an active competition cycle, he is outstanding. And man, did he put it on Francis Ngannou. I think there's a lot of truths in some of what Ray was saying. And as much as I was rooting for Francis in this setting, Kenny, part of me is rooting for the guys in their disciplines, in their sport, to show guys coming from other sports that there are levels to those sports, right? So this was a win for boxing in some part. What were your thoughts on that pay-per-view as long as it lasted?
Yeah, it certainly was. I mean, these are the risks you take when you fight a specialist at their own game. And this is also why Francis Ngannou got paid around $20 million plus for the fight, because you can get hurt at this game. And John, you've shaken hands with Francis Ngannou. You've seen how big, how massive this dude is. Well, when you saw at the weigh-in that Anthony Joshua was even bigger, and you realize that he's a professional boxer who is a world champion, who knows how to throw punches, I started to get a little bit nervous. Now, Anthony Joshua, when he walked out there and even when he was competing, it seemed like he had this face of concern a little bit. But none of that really mattered. Once he established his jab, dude, he was just all over Francis Ngannou from the get-go. And here I am watching from the outside, so take this with a grain of salt. In my opinion, watching the difference between Francis Ngannou against Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou against Anthony Joshua, there were a couple things. First of all, I think we could all probably agree at this standpoint that was not the best Tyson Fury that we have seen. I also think that Francis Ngannou tried to fight Tyson Fury. Francis Ngannou in the Anthony Joshua fight tried to box Anthony Joshua. And that's where I think he ran into some issues. He fought him completely different than he fought Tyson Fury. Now, you're probably saying, well, Kenny, they're two different boxers. They're two different styles of fighters. Yes, but I think that he went away from what made him successful against Tyson Fury, and because of that, it exposed him so much against a power puncher like Anthony Joshua. Tyson Fury is not a puncher, a big puncher like Anthony Joshua. That is to be sure. But I think the style that he went out there with, I think he maybe overestimated his boxing skills a little bit too much and should have been employing a little bit more of what he was doing against Tyson Fury. But thankfully, Francis Ngannou got paid for that, because those three punches could have ended the life of most men on this planet, yeah. John. It was very, very concerning. And to see him just literally melt to the floor after that last one, I'm so glad he was able to get back to his feet after that fight.
Yeah, that was absolutely vicious. And I know Anthony Joshua, ever classy, talking about Francis Ngannou as an asset to boxing and hoping he sticks around. But we'll see what is next for Francis Ngannou. I know what Renan Fajeda would like to see next, and that is Francis Ngannou in some sort of enclosed mixed martial arts setting. Kenny, a few more things I would like to get to on UFC 299. I don't know if you have anything else on Petr Yan. I just want to say he's one of my favorite fighters to rally from that adversity in round one, staring potentially a 4-fight losing streak in the face to do what he did in rounds 2 and 3. Just an exceptional fighter who I think on any given Saturday night, if maybe Merab's not the guy staring across from him, he can beat any one of these guys, no?
No question about it. And a lot of those losses were very close, right? Most of them anyway. And I think this was a great fight to show that he can perform at the highest level still. And if you're dealing with a 4-fight losing streak, you have to be questioning a lot of what you're doing out there. And if this is for you, or if you're able to even get back, because you could argue, although I still think he's elite, even if he lost that fight against Song, I think that there'd be an argument there for the UFC to go, do we need this guy in the division anymore? Can we get rid of him? Right? That's just facts. 5 losses in a row, that's not a great thing. But he was able to go past that, get a win against a guy who was streaking in Song Yadong, a guy who was an excellent fighter. He got it done with skill. He got it done with intelligence. He got it done with toughness. And it's why I went with Petr Yan. And really, it was just kind of based on a feeling more than anything else, because they were definitely very evenly matched. But I just had the feeling that Petr Yan was going to come back stronger in this one.